Greetings, this is Matt Fiello, Technical Marketing Engineer with the Cisco Cloud Networking Compute BU, and we're back with another Intersight Managed Mode Expert Series video. Today's video will be one of our server profile policy videos, the IPMI over LAN policy. And as such, we'll go through a few slides explaining the policy and then on to a short demonstration. Okay, so let's first introduce the policies in general. We have 39 total IIS server policies. Okay, so of those 39 policies in total, the 9 highlighted policies are more attributable to standalone C-series and in some cases domain policies as part of the domain profile, like your NTP. So for this series, we're talking about IMM server policies. We won't be focusing on the highlighted policies. So that leaves us with the policy that's the topic of discussion today, and that's the IPMI over LAN policy that you see highlighted on the screen. Okay, so the Intelligent Platform Management Interface, IPMI, enables a server to be commanded at a lower level through the Cisco IMC to perform various actions on that server. So it's a low-level commanding. A good example is you used to have Wake on LAN to power up the server. That can be done through IPMI today, and even as such, IPMI is getting somewhat dated in that Redfish is becoming the predominant way to do some of this low-level commanding. Some details of the policy itself, you got basically 3 different privilege levels. Admin gives you full control from an IMI standpoint, IPMI. User, somewhat smaller, limited set, and then read-only. And the gist here, an important thing to take away, is this policy works in conjunction with the local user role. Okay, so the IPMI privilege needs to be greater than or equal to the local user access policy to the Cisco IMC. Okay, and we'll show a few examples of that. Okay, so with all my policy videos, I like to address whether it's the given policy is required or not. For a successful server profile deployment, it's absolutely not required, not mandatory policy. But obviously, if you want to be able to command through IPMI, you're going to need the policy. Having said that, you can also access IPMI on the server through Redfish proper through the API. So as we go through this, okay, as far as a recommendation, okay, you're going to have to follow your organization's policies on this, whether to even enable IPMI at all, and if you do, at what privilege level you're going to give a given user. Now, as far as the verification, we're going to show a little bit about verification through the API in the demonstration. Okay, as part of the IMM Expert Series videos, when we're talking about policies, I like to include a graphic that kind of shows where, in fact, the policy fits in as far as the server profile template or individual server profile. And you can see here that the IPMI over LAN policy is a direct attach policy to the server profile template, or if you are using a single server profile. And I wanted to create and include a separate graphic slide here for this video. And you can see the IPMI over LAN policy in the middle here. Okay, and it's also got the IMC access policy and a local user policy. So if we break that out to the right here, you can see that we're getting the IP address that's being used from the IMC access policy, and that can be in-band or out-of-band, both are supported. Okay, and we have the IPMI over LAN that defines the privilege level, admin, user, or read-only. And then there's also the aspect of the local user policy that logs into the server. So they have a role of admin, user, or read-only. So, the local user policy, the IPMI privilege needs to be greater than or equal to the local user policy. So, in other words, a local user with an admin role, okay, will be able to command anything via IPMI, regardless of the privilege level, okay. But if a local user logged in with read-only role, okay, and they try to access a server with IPMI, okay, which has been set in a policy to user privilege, then that local user won't be able to log in. Okay, so hopefully that explains the usage and the interconnection between those two policies, being the IPMI over LAN privilege versus the local user role. Okay, the help section is not very helpful in Intersight on this particular topic, and I've talked with engineering and we're getting that revised. So hopefully that will be updated soon. Also, there's pop-ups out there, tooltips that lead you to believe this is not supported with B series or X series. It's just a rack only thing as far as privilege level, whether you want it to be encrypted or not. That is untrue. We are supporting this with B series and X series as well. So there will be some updates to help here very soon. Okay, so here we are in Intersight infrastructure service up here. Okay, and we're going to go down to policies and we're going to create a policy. And I'd like to filter down to platform type. You see a server and we can see our IPMI over LAN policy. Click start. Make sure you designate your organization and give it a meaningful name. Any tags and description, click next. Okay, so by creating the policy, the default setting is enable IPMI over LAN. And here's this privilege level for the IPMI policy itself. Okay, so I'm going to set this at user, meaning a user in the local user policy has to be user or above to be able to log in and do anything IPMI. Okay, so think of this privilege level as a minimalistic um, permission or privilege. Okay, if you selected admin, okay, then it would take an administrator in the local user policy to be able to do anything. Okay, like a user from a local user policy trying to log into the server wouldn't be able to do anything from a IPMI perspective. So I'm going to put user. As far as the encryption key goes, we're going to set that to a value. Now, if you select 00, that means no encryption. Okay, and the tooltip helps with that. Okay, it can be up to 40 characters. It needs to be an even number of characters, and that's hex decimal characters. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and type in some values here. I only put 10 characters in, but that'll actually get translated to 40 characters. It'll just put all zeros at the end. Okay, and click create. Okay, so we see our policy here. Okay, and a good way to go verify that policy or see that policy is through the API. So let's go ahead and go to the Help Center. Click that. Go all the way to the bottom. API documentation. API reference. We can do a simple search on IPMI. Now, I want to read what policies exist out there, so I'm going to go ahead and put a query in here. I want to filter this down. Return the policy names first and foremost. Okay, so there's like 4 different policies out here. But this is the policy that I just created, Bravo 26 IPMI-user. I'm going to grab the MOID for that. And I'm going to go to the second API call here where I can just type in that MOID. And now I can see the parameters. The policy is in fact enabled. Okay, encryption key is set. Okay, and I do have a privilege of user. Okay, so just a quick way of going and visualizing the policy from a API standpoint. And that completes the demonstration. And that completes today's video about IPMI over LAN server policies for server profiles. Hope you were able to pick up a few tips. Stay tuned for more Intersight Managed Mode Expert Series videos. Thank you.